call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Commissioner Kroll,
Present?
Commissioner Barton,
Present.
Commissioner Funes,
Present.
Attorney Milana, and Lieutenant Harper.
Great. Okay. Good. So we do have a quorum. All right. Let's go right to the minutes of our January, February, and March meeting. Have you had an opportunity to go through them?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'll move that we approve the January, February, and March meeting minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Okay, and then we just have one day license, two of them. One for July 8th, a memorial for 1 year anniversary of the death of Roderick Wilson at 182 Maple Street. That's across from St. Pius Church. And then also a one-day license for May 20th. It's just a function. It's being catered by April's, and there will be entertainment at this particular one. Musical, so.
What is 182 Maple Street?
It's St. Pius, right, yeah,
Okay.
right. Admission is being charged at one and no admission at the other. The memorial, there is no admission, and at the function,
There
the
is.
$15 charge.
The memorial would waive the fee for that?
Okay?
Okay. No, I'm asking.
Well, it's non-profit.
Okay. All right, very good. I'll move that we approve the one-day licenses and waive the fee for the nonprofit.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I would just like to say, if there is entertainment, I do think they need an entertainment license.
Yeah.
Deb, so you look into that first? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and then we have one common victualler. Antojitos Restaurant, 665 Western Avenue. Irma Alvarez and Rosalio Marita. Anyone here? Okay, then we will just
Table.
hold that to the end of the meeting, see if they show. And then we need a change of manager for, change of manager and officers and directors for Green Tea Corporation. Doing business as Green Tea at 751 Linway. Anyone here from Green Tea?
Why do I have a feeling everyone's down in room 109?
All the letters.
I know, I'm just saying.
Well, I have to be honest. If a certain someone hadn't texted me today to remind me that it was in
Thank you.
302, I'd probably be downstairs too. Okay. All right.
I mean, I'd be running the meeting.
Then let's move right along. We'll just hold that till someone shows. So then let's get right into the hearing for the White Rose Coffee House at 56 Central Square for a citizen noise complaint. Is the citizen or citizens here who made the complaint? Okay. Would you please stand and just state your name and...
Yes, I don't know how this, my name is Kristen Corpos. I don't know how this hearing works. Am I able to read sort of what I'd like to read before you, or?
You can.
Okay. I also have documentation for you.
You have provided plenty of documentation.
I know, but
here is
I'd like to provide some
question and documentation.
these for each of you as well. And I just have something to read. So do I need to stand over here, or is it? So I'm Kristen Corpos. I own Unit 2A that's located at 54 Central Square in Lynn, along with my wife, Mark Kelvin, who couldn't be here tonight. I wrote down what I wanted to say tonight to be sure that I kept my comments as brief as possible, because I want to save your time and I don't want to get off track. Our loft unit is directly above the White Rose Coffee House. I requested this hearing due to the ongoing noise nuisance that we have been unsuccessfully trying to get resolved over the course of this past 6 months. During events and large gatherings in the coffee house, both amplified and non-amplified, you can both hear and feel the noise and vibrations in our residential unit. We have documented this noise through direct witnesses, decibel meter readings and video, which I provided to the commissioners, and most recently a sound study from New England Soundproofing. I want to point out that we are the only residents directly above the entertainment space of the coffee house. There is another unit on the backside of the building, but it is actually over the coffee house kitchen area, in a bar area, and an area that has a much lower ceiling. For this reason, it appears that we are the only party unreasonably impacted by the noise emanating from the coffee house. Also, I want to make it known for the record that I don't want to be here tonight. I don't like conflict at all. And I consider myself a kind and loving person who has love for the community of downtown Lynn and shares in the excitement and growth of what's been going on in the downtown area. So just a little background. So we moved into Unit 2A in May 2005, and we lived in Lynn until February 2014. During that time, the Gulu Cafe was downstairs for a short period, and then the Turbine Wine Bar for a short period, and then we moved out in 2014, and the unit below at that time was vacant. When we moved, we rented to tenants who moved in February of 2014 through March of 2015. No complaints were received, and the cafe unit downstairs was vacant during this time. March 2015 through August 2016, we had a new tenant. No complaints were received. It's my understanding that Cafe Mocha opened during this time period. In September 2016, we had new tenants, which are the current tenants. They moved in, and the first noise complaint we received was the end of October 2016. We've been trying to resolve this noise issue since that point in time. Last month, our tenants told us that they're breaking their lease due to the noise issues and are moving out on May 31st. Their lease was set to run until August 31st of 2017. Both the Gulu and Turbine Wine Bar had infrequent events. From memory, generally 1 to 2 times per week. We worked most weekend evenings, and I don't recall being home during events. We never complained of a noise issue. Cafe Mocha opened during the time in which a tenant lived in the unit. I have no direct knowledge of how many events they had during the week, but I'm told by others it was generally 1 to 2 times per week. The White Rose is heavily focused on live music and events, and generally has events scheduled for as much as 4 to 6 times per week, and this is causing an unreasonable noise nuisance in our unit. In the documentation I provided, there's a schedule of events for the coffee house over the past month so that you can see how often the events occur. The noise complaints have continued since the White Rose opened. At one point in time, we stopped complaining because we thought the coffee house owners were working with the building trustees, attempting to fix the situation, working with sound engineers, but then we found out that nothing was being done, and so we began complaining again. I should note that once my tenants confirmed they were completely fed up and moving out, they didn't want to deal with the situation anymore. They told me that they were unable to make this meeting tonight because they had a prior commitment. Many emails have been generated while trying to get this noise issue resolved, and I prepared a packet for you to serve as background of the public conversations between all parties involved. In some emails, the coffee house owners agreed that there was a problem with the noise, demanding that their tenant, the White Rose Coffee House, keep the volume down. And then in other emails, they demanded proof that there was a problem. We have a lot of evidence that there is a problem, and we know that the White Rose has been making many attempts to limit their noise. They take decibel meter readings in their unit and in front of our door on a regular basis. They have also taken steps to move the stage, change the speaker setup, and end many events early at 10 p.m. I know they have even told bands that were playing too loudly that they needed to turn the volume down, only to have the band refuse and leave, thus causing the business to lose revenue. We thank them for their attempts, and they have been amicably trying to resolve this noise nuisance issue since the first day it occurred. However, since we have not been able to resolve this over the past 6 months, we decided to take our concerns to the licensing board. While another option is to file a lawsuit, the only winners would be the lawyers, and lawsuits should be the absolute last option in my opinion. I traveled from New Jersey to stand before the commission today to hopefully get the noise issue resolved. We are excited that the White Rose Coffee House is thriving. It is a great new business for the downtown, but that can't happen at our detriment. Due to our tenants moving out, we will be at a loss of nearly $6,000 in lost rent. We are not sure how we will continue to pay for our mortgage and condo fees while we try to find a buyer or a new tenant for our unit. Our realtor has informed us that we must disclose that there is an existing noise nuisance to any potential renters or buyers. And the reality is that we may either be forced to foreclose or move back into the unit with our twin girls who are age 3. With 2 small children with an 8 p.m. bedtime and a noise nuisance, I presume that complaints will continue to come from us. A sound study was recently done by New England Soundproofing, and the results were received last night. We received a proposal for work to remedy the sound issue. The company is an expert in its field and has done work at many well-known Boston area restaurants, bars, and similar establishments. They diagnosed that the coffee house ceiling and walls are currently transmitting into our unit minimal high-frequency noises, such as those generated by talking and dishware, and significantly low-frequency vibrations, particularly those created by speakers and microphones during live performances. I have included the report for your review, and it suggests several options for controlling the noise problem. Please note that while decibel meters were taken by this company to reach their professional conclusions, an invasive measure that's taken during a multitude of actual live performances using specialized equipment was not done. Those specialized measurements are usually only done to acquire data to be used in legal cases, and they come at a high cost approaching $4,400. Regardless of the soundproofing recommendations, my concern is that the coffee house or the coffee house unit owners will not follow through with any recommendations to resolve the issue, and will argue that all the building owners should pay for the $4,400 legal sound assessment and any noise insulation that should be put in place within the coffee house unit. The White Rose has stated that they do not have any money to install the sound insulation. The coffee house unit owners have stated in email that the White Rose may fail and that they do not wish to invest the money in fixing the problem for a business that may only be there a short time. But in another email, they said they'll consider recommendations, so I'm not confident that without the pressure of suspending the White Rose entertainment license, any actions will be taken to rectify this issue. I don't think that placing the burden on the building owners would be fair either. If the coffee house was instead an insurance company, there would likely be no noise nuisance, and I wouldn't be standing before you tonight. Thus, if it is permitted, licensed use, it's the licensed use that is causing the unreasonable noise nuisance to persist. There are so many details surrounding these 6 months during which we have repeatedly notified the White Rose Coffee House and the owners of the unit of the sound issues. At one point, the coffee house offered to rent our residential unit, stating that that would solve the noise problem, which obviously wasn't a long-term solution for us. At another point in time, the coffee house owner suggested that instead of the building paying the $4,400 for a professional sound engineer measurement study, that the money should be used to help market our residential unit to potential buyers that had a love for music or musicians themselves. While this is not a bad idea, it greatly limits the marketability of our unit to our detriment. We ask that a solid date be set by the commissioners, by which point in time the White Rose is required to resolve the sound nuisance. We want Cotto to be able to remain in business, but we need the nuisance addressed. We suggest that if they ultimately do not resolve the nuisance by the date set by the commissioners, that their entertainment license be suspended until they do resolve the nuisance. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have now or later. And additionally, since I've never been in a matter like this before, I wanted to ask if you can please explain the next steps at some point. For example, when you will approximately reach a decision on this matter or how that happens. Thank you.
The last part of your statement, I can tell you right here and now. Had we been made aware of this issue to begin with, we could have been addressing it. I mean, to present us with all of this, I mean, it's like 6 months worth of issues that you have. We should have been notified a lot sooner.
Well, we were trying to amicably work with the parties involved because we're so happy to have the White Rose in our building. It's great for the downtown, everything that's happening here. It's awesome, and Cotto's doing an amazing job. This is just a really unfortunate circumstance.
That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing from what I've read. You feel like the White Rose is doing everything that they can do at this point in time. But I don't want you to stand here and think that tonight we will be suspending anybody's entertainment.
I did not think that. I just, because nothing is getting resolved, I needed to take this step to bring this issue to light and try to get resolution.
I would just recommend to you in the future, if you have issues, keep every party involved in it from the beginning.
Is there currently a lawsuit pending?
There's no lawsuits, and all parties have been involved since the beginning. Obviously not you,
Right.
but the White Rose has been involved. The owners of the unit have been involved. Everybody has been involved since the first time that the issue was made known. But this felt like coming to you guys really just felt like almost the last resort too, because we want to see people succeed. But at the same time, when it really started to impact us financially, and nothing was getting resolved. Now it's like we're in trouble now, you know? We have renters that literally, they're moving out.
Okay. Well, I just hope you keep in mind what I said, just.
It's gonna take you to
There's baby steps, okay? And you have to start, well, you should have started.
So, are you, just a general idea, is it a month, is it 2 months?
I have no idea because I have to hear their side too.
Okay.
Exactly. This is
feel
very,
comfortable
right.
going forward
Okay.
without Attorney Lamana present.
Exactly.
Because this is uncharted territory.
Exactly. I kind of
Okay.
agree with you.
And I think
We
you-
need our attorney here. But since we heard from you, I do want to hear from.
And I thank you
Wait,
for
wait.
explaining your
Exactly, no.
process. Thank you.
Definitely. So is there someone here representing?
I'm Attorney Sam Vitale. I represent the White Rose. I appreciate and understand the Chairwoman's comments, which I think are well taken, and the observation that it's uncharted territory in a sense. But really, I think if we look at it kind of slowly and piecemeal, we can sort of get it put together. And I would suggest that most of the people here are in support of it, including the owner of the unit. I represent the White Rose. The White Rose is a tenant. Kathy Mealy is the principal of the White Rose. She was before you in November. She's the manager there. And we do appreciate that the owner came from New Jersey of the unit and acknowledged that the chairwoman understood that there had been a collaborative effort to try to resolve it. The real person who's complaining is not here. That was the tenant. And so one of the things I think you have to put in overall perspective is this location has had the Gula Gula, the Turbine Wine Bar, the Cafe Mocha, and a succession of businesses. And I know the board is sensitive to neighborhood concerns, especially you, Chairman. But the first thing that would seem to come to mind is how come it's a problem now? What's really changed? So on one hand, you have somebody saying, well, what's really changed is it's the White Rose. But the White Rose would suggest what really changed is that it's a tenant who wants to get out of their lease, as the owner of the unit who lives in New Jersey said, and is breaking their lease to get out. So this is a convenient way out. No question. It can have a financial impact on the owner. The owner, like many of the people who bought units in that building, she paid $277,000 in 2005 for the unit. If you go downstairs to the assessors, it's assessed at $210,000. So the assessor didn't listen to the noise complaint. The assessor does it based on the value of sales. So there's been a tremendous diminishment of value of the units. But these people, and I tell the people this all the time, because I form condominiums, and condominium have rules. Condominium is a form of ownership. People think it's a form of zoning or whatever. It's a form of ownership. And I tell people it's like a bad marriage. You know, people will say, if I own a condominium unit, it's like owning a single-family home. Not really. Not really. Because you got all these other people who have the same rights you do. And they're governed by a document. We call it the condominium regime. It's the master deed, the trust, and typically there are rules. This condominium has rules, as all condominiums do. What you didn't hear is, in terms of what's happened with respect to the condominium association. People who own condominiums pay a fee, a common area maintenance charge, okay? A monthly fee to take care of the expenses of the building, snow plowing, landscaping, and they have a management company, which this condominium does. But when you live there, you say you abide by the rules, or when you own a unit there, you abide by the rules. So typically a lease says that if I lease the unit, it has to be in writing, it has to be for a specific term, and it has to be subject to the rules of the condominium. So it says everybody who's in here plays by the same rules. Well, typically, when there's a complaint about a unit owner, somebody's got an unregistered car in the back, somebody's feeding birds or animals, somebody's breaking what the rules are, somebody's got a Rhodesian Ridgeback, a dog that hunts lions, okay? These are the kinds of things that trustees of condominiums deal with. So what you didn't hear is what has been the condominium's response. The unit owner is here, but the fact of the matter is that the condominium association has the obligation to resolve the dispute, and a unit owner has an obligation to submit such a dispute to the condominium. Now, what could happen is everybody drinks castor oil. By that I mean, they may say, oh yeah, it's going to cost $4,000, and I would like, and I would hope that I could get to see and have an opportunity like you asked to examine the report that some sound engineer did, because we were prepared and have asked the sound engineer that we are paying for to do a similar analysis. Because at the end of the day, it's about what level is the noise. So part of it is there has been no formal complaint against the White Rose by the trustees of the condominium association. That one of the things that they could do, should they do, and their rules provide, is they could fine somebody, they could put conditions upon their occupancy, they can enforce their rules. And if it required an expenditure, and I think what you're going to hear from some of the others is that when this building became a condominium, not just this unit, the people didn't put in soundproofing. I can tell this owner right now, there's a simple solution. Put soundproofing underneath the rock that's on the floor on her unit, and it will dull the sound that comes up above. That's an expenditure that the unit owner will have to make because it's in the interior of the unit. Now, if you talk about doing things to the unit outside that, then that may be an expense that everyone, including this unit owner, would have to bear, okay? And Kathy happens to own a unit, in a residential unit in the building, okay? And I don't see, and maybe there are here, but I don't see other residential unit owners here complaining, okay? And in fact, what the current owner omitted was that she rented it, you know, why there wasn't a complaint? He was a drummer. One of the people she rented to was a drummer, okay? So I don't think he was complaining about noise, all right? But so there was a problem with a tenant, and the current manager, whom you approved back in November, has been acknowledged to resolve. So some of the things that I wanted to point out to you that they have done without your involvement is they curtail entertainment at 10 p.m. They have a license that says they're open till midnight. They used to have Sunday brunch. They stopped having Sunday brunch. They would like to have Sunday brunch, and they would limit it from about 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the afternoon on Sunday. So that was one of the things that they did on their own. Oh, that they did. Those things they did, yeah. But I'm saying beyond that, okay, in terms of the entertainment license, what they could do and what they're prepared to do. As I indicated, there's an engineer, Alex, and I can't pronounce his last name, that we are going to ask to do our little sound check. But here's the next difficulty. Put aside the condominium regime, the rules of the condominium, the trustees, the other people. Let's go to what the sound ordinance of the city of Lynn says, okay? As far as I know, and Lieutenant Havlic's here, there have been 2 occasions that the police went. One night, one afternoon. They filed no complaints. They went inside and they said, what's the problem? We got a call. They walked around, and I think it was the route police, not the SIU folks. And they left. There was no complaint filed with you, all right? They came back because they got a call the next day. In the afternoon, did the same thing. So, but the difficulty is that when you read the sound ordinance in the city of Lynn, and Attorney Lamont is here, it got adopted in stages, all right? So some cities and towns use a decibel meter, okay? I don't know much about decibels, but I know this. There's some sounds that only a dog can hear, okay? And there are some, and there's a measurement, like what's an offensive sound, like a motorcycle guy that, you know, revs those things up. But in Lynn, we don't have that, okay? But we do have an ordinance that talks about sound. But what it talks about is the loud playing of music between the hours of 11 p.m. and 7 a.m., okay? And that's if you're having a street block party, or if you got your TV turned on too loud. And it puts the police in a very difficult position because they come down and they'll say, typically, as most officers will say, can you turn it down? Can you do this? Can you be considerate of your neighbors? Which is all good advice. The closest you come in the Lynn ordinance is back, I think, in 1987. The Lynn ordinance, in an attempt, I think, to help people. I'm wrong, it was 1991. He has a list of criteria as to how you can determine if there's a a violation of the sound ordinance. But you know what it comes down to? It comes down to subjective analysis, not scientific turn on the decibel meter. It talks about the level of noise, the intensity of the noise, whether it's natural or unnatural, the proximity to sleeping facilities, the density. What is it in a business district? What time of the day? So at least they try, okay? And it's been amended and changed from, I think, 87, 91, 98, 2003. When you put it all together, it still doesn't give you, that's over the limit or that's below. It comes down to subjective. And so I think that the people who lived in the building in the past either became acclimated, knew when they were moving in that downstairs was a coffee house, all right? But somebody moved in and did that and found that objection. And then they made a complaint to the unit owner, all right? And that's what brings us here tonight. So what I think we want to try to do is solve the problem, okay? But you have to understand, there's a limit on what the tenant who occupies the commercial space can do. She doesn't own that unit. The owner of the unit is here. The condominium association has trustees that govern. But some of the things that she can do without waiting for your decision, she's done some. But I want to tell you about what else she's willing to do, okay? I indicated Alex. She's indicated that she would limit the music voluntarily. One of the things we talked about, and again, I'm not a musician, but there are people here, I think Jim's here. She would do acoustic, okay? Just acoustic performance. Especially in the summer months, people have their windows open, okay? So that's an adaptation that she could make. We also are prepared to change the manager from Kathy. We've got an experienced manager who's tip certified, who's managed in other places, because I think Kathy's sort of in an untenable position. She has a residential unit in the building. She's the owner of the entity, the White Rose, and she's acting as the manager. So I think it would be helpful. What we considered is bringing in a manager who's an employee, who's experienced in operating a facility like this, and freeing up Kathy to be the role of the owner and to be the role of a tenant. So those are some of the things that she's prepared to undertake. And there are other people here who can speak to it. Kathy wanted me to give you this letter from the gentleman who lives in, or has the unit, I believe, in
He's next door.
next door, the unit next door. So he says he hasn't had any problem, okay? I think he may have received a letter from the unit owner who owns the White Rose, who happens to also be a trustee of the condominium association, who I think is he. All right. So if you have that letter, then you can look to that. But I did see his letter, and I would say this about the letter. This was a letter from dated May the 10th. Did you get this letter?
Oh, yes.
Okay, from the owner of the unit. Well, I'll tell you this, and I say this in sincerity. I think that they did a hell of a job. When you read the last page,
Right.
they've got some really good recommendations that I think would be worthwhile to pursue. And so they speak to, I think, addressing the complaint, not ignoring the complaint, and putting it in the proper forum, which is before the trustees of the condominium, and making everybody there participate, and also requiring the tenant of that unit as a tenant to abide by whatever determination and rules they make. So at the end of the day, I think what you're going to find is, I know that the license board understands and appreciates the efforts that the city has made, especially in the Central Square. And that I wasn't before you, but I was before, and I told this to Kathy. I had to go before the city council and the Board of Appeals in this very room to get Domino's Pizza, whom I represent, to have extended hours. And I learned a lot, and I had to do it the night that a pizza delivery man was murdered in the city of Lynn. All right? But they were able to pass and distinguish that unfortunate incident happened at 5 o'clock in the afternoon near St. Pius Church, okay? But the people from Domino's had great responses to how they don't take phone calls from people who are it comes back unknown, and the world has changed, and I gave this example to the Board of Appeals. I think I'm the only person maybe that goes to Dunkin' Donuts and pays cash. Everybody has one of these phones in front of me, and they're flat, all right? And so the world of pizza delivery is, we don't have the Domino's in Central Square, where the old McDonald's used to be, is open and closes at midnight. But we take orders from midnight to 3 a.m., okay? We do it by the internet, we do it by telephone. To get that permission, I had to go to the city council for what's called an extended hours hearing, because you can't be open between midnight and 5. I had to go to the Board of Appeals because the zone ordinance says you can't have it in the central business district, any 24-hour operation. Got approval both places. Councilor Chakutis is here. She was helpful, but she said to me, I need to know what the residents say, because there are residents living above. My point is, when I got to the Board of Appeals said to me, well, why do you want to close at 3? And I looked at them and they said, we're trying to encourage people to be in business downtown, we're trying to do whatever. I was astounded, okay? And so it's taken hold. It's an idea that's taken hold. And there's always going to be a balance, whether it's somebody who lives upstairs or somebody who lives in close proximity to, as in the city of Lynn, commercial ventures in close proximity to neighborhoods. And it's, how do you strike the balance? So what I'm asking you to do, and I think I understand you are going to do, is at least a forbear until we get more information to find a real solution, so you don't get thrust in a position of having to deal with an issue that really doesn't belong here. If it's going to be violation of the sound ordinance, it should be someplace else, not here, okay? And to take away the entertainment license when people in the city, many of whom are here, want to enjoy the performers and the acts that come along, would be, to me, draconian in terms of the kind of penalty. So what I would ask you to do is to forbear, at least at the time being. I would appreciate it if you gave me a copy of the engineering estimate that was provided. And I'll give you an opportunity to hear, because Councilor Chakutis, I see, is here, and then there are people who live in this neighborhood, or live in this building, and they can tell you firsthand what their experience has been. I'd be glad to answer any questions that any member may have.
Madam Chair, can I just see a show of hands who's here that lives in the building, that's here to support the coffee house? Is there anyone, you, sir? Anyone else?
I don't actually live in the building, but I own and manage, I work with a company that owns and manages 145 Monroe and 20 Central. And as an architect, I can speak that whether you're in front by the kitchen or in the back, sound travels in rhythms, which causes vibrations. The sound is going to be the same in the front or in the back of the way it is. I actually have a church on the second floor right next to the cafe, house of worship. No complaints.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir. Lieutenant Hammer, do you have anything to add? How many police reports do we have? And well, we have obtain copies of those.
Sorry. We have some documentations of CAD, computer-aided dispatch. We have some dispatch logs that show the officers were just responded there. As the counselor stated, I don't think we have any actual police reports, and we certainly don't have any noise violations issued. But something we could look at, and I could get for you, for the board, maybe it should be more comprehensive, a list of actually when the officers were called to the location, and what it was called, they were called for, and noise, and draw some conclusions maybe from the CAD. I could interpret, you know, by them not issuing a violation, they may have determined that the noise was not unreasonable, as Councilor Vitale said it. The officers have to use judgment calls when they go there. So I understand this is an issue that's been going on for a while, and I was made aware of it at the very beginning, monitoring it, but never really had any input, like the board, never really had any input with either party. And I have spoken several times with the manager and the owner of the business, and she's appeared to have been tried to be very accommodating. So it is ongoing. I'll be happy to address any concern from the police end. If you have concerns about what the police response was or what we recommend or do.
I
I was provided with a flash drive that provided information on when certain events were being held from November 19th through February 19th. And it seems like most of the events were taking place on the weekends, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. There was one Monday, one Friday, and the majority were Sundays and Saturdays. But I wasn't made aware of the time of day that these events were taking place. Could you provide me with some information on when these events take place?
Most of our live music events are Thursday, Friday, Saturday night from 8 to 10. We were doing a Sunday brunch from 11 to 2. For 6 weeks, we ran a songwriting competition on Sundays from 2 to 4 instead of the 11 to 2. We do run a Monday open mic that goes from, we do sign-ups at 7. We start at about 7:45, and we're generally done at about 9:30. Occasionally, maybe 10:30.
Actually, none of the events that I have on the flash drive have a Monday or Thursday in them. So I was kind of like hoping that maybe during the week, yeah,
We have
okay.
an acoustic sing-along on Tuesday.
Acoustics. Okay.
It's a group of people, like, playing acoustic guitar, and a group of people sing along, like, Pete Seeger kind of stuff.
But there was one sing-along.
It was a sing-along, it's well attended.
It's not now, very, very well
popular.
attended.
It's
We were singing.
Yeah, it's the 1960s all over again, yeah. People enjoy it.
And then a question I had about this flash drive. Who is doing the readings?
Yeah, so that was my tenant. But we had decided, when this had happened back in, I think it was in early November, we had a call and talked about what would be a way for us to gauge if there's a problem. Because anytime there's a noise issue, like you said, it's subjective. So how do you gauge really if there's a problem or not? I mean, one person may say it's a problem, the other person may say it's not. So what we decided to do was I purchased 2 decibel meters, and my tenants would, when it was loud, take out their phone and video the decibel meter as they were recording the sound. Because, I mean, again, how do we measure this? And we didn't have $4,400 to pay for these engineers to come in with all this crazy stuff. And that's where that came from. Before, I know I was answering your question, but I had a few comments based on the attorney's remarks. Do I get a point in time where I can respond? Oh, okay. So the one thing I wanted to point out was that the trustees did actually issue violations that were recorded to the White Rose based on a few instances. One of the trustees who lived on the 2nd floor in the unit, not across the hall from my unit, but down the hall, physically came to my unit to listen to the noise and said, this is a problem, we need to issue a violation. So they did receive violations. Those should be recorded by the management company somehow, and I believe a certified letter. Our tenants have been complaining since October. They wanted to stay. They really were troopers. I mean, they took these videos for me. They're not trying to get out of lease. And the other thing is the assessment for, there was a recession. Everybody's assessed values went down. But right now, in the past 2 weeks, I know for a fact there's been at least 5 lots that are in contingent status with offers for like $299. I mean, really, the market has recovered greatly right now. So I just didn't want that assessed value to come in there.
Yes, sir. Could you identify yourself?
Jakob Seitlin, I'm the co-owner along with my wife Linda of the coffee space, and we ran successfully 1.5 year coffee house, never had complaint though, we were much lower about it. We had 20 gallon 4 times. Everybody only knows 20 gallon. 20 gallon is bad, no complaints, it's something. But what I want to say, the owner of Unit 2A just stated that there was some kind of violation, like order for us to, like pay $5 or something, was discussion. But the only time, as I know it, was reported when somebody from the condominium association visited the department during the performance. It was on 18th of November, very beginning, when we had no clue how it's affect, because the tenant never in 6 months communicated directly, neither to me, the cafe owner, there's a problem. We learn about this 2-3 days later when he complained to either police or to the unit owner, and then it come to us from unit owner. What was 3 days ago was noisy. It could be a little bit more noisy, but we would address it on the spot. I begged him, I have a copies of email sending from me to him. Nelson, please, next time, grab the phone, call Patrick, he was a manager at the time, take, because people had no clue. And we decided to verify. So we agreed not to tell anything to Cato, the owner of the cafe shop. And we agreed that 8 o'clock on the 18th of November, everything reported. Me and one of the unit owner, another one, Eric Hansen, we show up at 8 o'clock at the 2A. And it was 2 decibel meter and it was just bent. And I was sitting and sipping my wine before I went there. And bass was, I thought was scary loud. It was, what's his name? Rupias. He brought his boombox. Last 7 months, Cato even don't allow bass. Is it true? Only acoustic. So, I was a little bit nervous, but I knew, okay, I will talk to Cato after this. We went upstairs. He opened the door, it was his wife and friends. And they said, today's no problem. And he has a meter reading. And I remember it was average like 45, 49, sometimes splashes 55. And he says, I'm a nice guy. It was 18th of November. And I was very pleased. And I have an email from Eric after this. He said, this is a proven that music could have a level which doesn't bother the guy. Since then, nobody showed up and reported to trustees.
Thank you.
Can I just correct that? The violation that came from the trustee who was standing in the unit was in December. That's in your documentation. And yes, it is true that in November, Yakov, along with another trustee, did visit the unit with the goal of trying to assess the situation. I was not there. And again, this is just what I heard, but my tenant was concerned that at the point in time, there was no band playing when they were up there, or the music got very quiet. And again, this is the subjective issue, is that different genres of bands are gonna be different, even if they're amplified or not amplified. Like a sing-along, if there's 50 people singing or 25 people are gonna be louder than one person, and it's difficult. I can understand that, and this noise is always changing. Bass, different things.
Right, and this flash drive really fits that, it truly does. So, first, what I would like to know, would you have a problem with me allowing the association and the owners and the lawyer here to have a copy of this?
They are very welcome to, and actually all those videos have been shared all along with everybody. They were on YouTube and they were shared numerous times with people. So if they want to make copies of those, you have copies, I hope?
No.
Somebody has copies?
I said we would make one.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. That is, more than welcome. And I am not trying to hide anything.
No, I kind of think everybody's here of the same opinion. We're going to try to work together to resolve this.
Why did we have this, and I realize maybe I'm partially responsible, but why wasn't this just a conference? Why was this a hearing?
Because they requested one. And they provided us with documentation, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like, because of all the information that we have, we'd like to see more police documentation. We've got this.
Well, I would like to see what they are going to do to try to remedy the situation. I think they should be given the opportunity to remedy the situation.
The coffee house?
Yes, most definitely.
I kind of see it as like a
Most
dispute
definitely.
between the
And I've heard that you go into acoustics as opposed to.
One of the things we considered were the change in the hours that we talked about. Getting our own sound engineer to do an analysis. Hopefully get the benefit of whatever proposal you people have. also changing the manager, putting on a new manager.
Right.
And then in terms of acoustic, I told you, I'm not the guy.
Yeah.
But I think what that means is not with amplifiers. And so as we came to the summer months, when people typically open windows, which makes noise easier to travel through, to switch the entertainment during that period to all acoustic, so there wouldn't be the amplification.
Right.
That's what I understand, my limited knowledge of the music. So those are steps that we were undertaking anyway, and I think some of them were acknowledged by the trustee, the unit owner, and by the owner of the other unit. And we would appreciate an opportunity to address it because it is voluminous and it is difficult. But in terms of formal notice, either from the condominium association, by a police report, I don't think that it's reached that stage. We don't want it to reach that stage. So we're going to, that's why we endeavor to do some of these things prior.
But again, this is the first we're hearing about it,
Right.
and it's like, we've been here for sledgehammer.
Right, I've never heard any good things about the White Rose Coffee House, so this kind of blindsided us the end of last week when we
Let me
received
just
all
give you
this stuff.
an opportunity to speak. Did you have
Hi, my
anything
name's
else?
Elizabeth McKim, and I own a condominium directly across the street from the White Rose Cafe. And I moved here 14 years ago, and I've always been aware of the sounds of the street. I mean, a lot of the sounds of the street weren't so great. You know, we had brawls and gunshots and all kinds of things. And so, and also just even in the condominium, which is the Boston Machine Loft directly next door, we do hear the people directly above us. But I mean, I feel like music, wonderful music that brings people together and makes our downtown a vibrant place, and the reassuring of a community that we love through art and culture is something so important, so vital for our community. And so everything that the White Rose thus far has brought to us, for me, you know, of course, has been so pleasurable. And we have had other music too. Since the beginning when I moved in, we had like a rock and roll group that rehearsed next door. We always heard that music. We have the church front, the Somali music. We have that on Sunday morning, and actually it gives pleasure. To me, it's like the jazz of the city. And I think, until 10 o'clock at night, the hours that the White Rose proposes to have music, it seems to me that this is something that we should agree on, really, because it's going to bring our community together in the best of possible ways. Thank you.
What I'm saying here is that both groups are willing to work together, and why don't we give them a chance, like you said, to see what ideas they can come up with, put it into perspective, so we'll see how we can go from there. Right now, we cannot make a decision until we hear from them again to see what they have come up with. I think that should be.
Commissioner Cunha, as your wise man, I think this matter needs to be tabled until next month's meeting after we read all this additional documentation.
You want to table the matter, or you want to give them a month, or
I think
2 months to come up with?
Well, we see how long.
we're talking about it right now. We're just spitballing. I'm just throwing it out here, but I think it should be tabled until next month, or we should, I don't think at this juncture we should say, hey, you've got 2
Well, I'm
months
not,
to figure this.
I agree. If you're saying, if you put it that way,
Yes.
you're saying you
No.
have to have
Right.
something
I'm not
to
gonna
do
tell
that
someone,
way.
you have 2 months to right
Right.
this ship, because like I said, we're in uncharted territory. And
Right.
you and I, with respect, Madam Chairman, we may disagree on who we believe should pay for this soundproofing. I think it's a condo association matter.
Well, I'll tell you here and now, I heard the attorney say that they are looking into ways to, right.
Okay.
Right.
And like I said, with respect.
So maybe by next month you can come back and have something, exactly,
Certainly, yep.
exactly. Again, just let me touch base with
Yep.
you. If you have any problems with me providing them with the copies of everything you've given to me?
And we appreciate the fact that you came all the way up from the
Yeah,
Garden State.
yeah.
It sounds like I'll be here next month.
Well,
I just, if I can have a moment to say something else. if you could. Okay, so I just wanted to speak about the police. We actually told our tenants to call the police. I made many phone calls to town hall, trying to figure out what can I do, you know, like just trying to get this resolved. And one of the things was they said, okay, next time the music's loud, call the police will come out, they'll take a reading, and it will go in as evidence. And so we assumed that that would be what would happen. But apparently the police don't carry any kind of decibel meters or anything. And so then thus again, it becomes subjective and being put in a really tough situation because there's no hard data, there's no limit. Like New York City has really great regulations and publications for bar owners and residents that says, this is what's acceptable, this is what's not. If you are above this limit, this many feet away or above within residential territory, you need to resolve that and add some sort of insulation. And of course, it's New York City. I mean, it's a huge city, so I don't expect Lynn to have the same items in place, but I do suggest that that's a good framework to sort of look at because the police are in a difficult situation. I don't think those logs are going to help because vibrations through a floor when you're sitting on your couch trying to watch TV, you know, you're feeling you're vibrating. You're not going to hear that, and that's what's so difficult about some of this. Is it's not that somebody's blaring their stereo and it's living in 4 to 6 times a week in a situation where you literally just can't have, just sit there without dealing with this. And I know there's sounds in the city. This is a city. It's never going to be quiet. There's all kinds of sounds, but when it starts really impacting your daily living within your residential unit, you know that there needs to be a resolution. And that's sort of where we're coming from. So hopefully we can all get there. The one thing I would like to say is we have been trying to work together. We have solutions. So I get concerned about, I understand that the commissioners want to read all the documentation. I think that's really great. But is there some sort of deadline or timeline, like in terms of what's going to happen? So when we come back next month,
It's completely our discretion.
Okay.
That's just the way it works.
yeah, and we have to hear what they have to say. Now they're going to be provided with all of the information, and let's see.
Okay.
But I also noticed on flash drives, you have hardwood floors, so that too is going to.
And there's rugs within the unit though.
Okay.
You don't always see the rugs?
Yeah,
There are rugs
no, I
in
didn't
the
see
unit.
any rugs at all, so that's what I'm saying.
And one solution, potential solution, we could carpet our whole unit and put down some special padding I hear they make
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
But we have beautiful hardwood floors. It should be acceptable that a certain percentage of those hardwood floors are covered without being required to put wall-to-wall carpeting in. And if you saw our loft, you understand why we don't want wall-to-wall carpeting.
Yeah,
But
understood.
That's no
But I did go on Google to check out their decibel levels and whatnot, and what's acceptable, what is acceptable in apartments and whatnot. And 85 seemed to be the magic number. And from the flash drive that you gave me, the levels were fluctuating anywhere from 45 to 65,
that's 85 at the source. So when you are doing that research,
No, that was
and
in residence.
I have not seen that because New York
Yeah.
and Boston actually have, I think, a 50 or a 60.
Well, I just
decibel.
Googled. Trust me.
One of the things, good Commissioner, one of the things, I grew up in New York City, and the way they came out with the sound limits up there is because of the train noise. So that's why it's kind of higher than it is over there than over here. When the trains go by at midnight and wakes you up, nobody can sue the city, but the clubs say that to the government, and says, well, if the train makes that kind of noise, why can we have our limitation a little higher? And based on that discovery, that's how they came up with that. Back in the 70s.
Oh, okay, very good. I will move, Madam Chairman, if there's no further discussion from Commissioner Cunha's.
I'm all set.
Okay, I'll move that this matter be tabled until the June meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep. Debbie, this,
Yes. Was that a yes?
yes,
Sam, see Deb for a copy of that.
okay. I was gonna let him take them.
Do you want to take yours?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
gonna, you can take this,
that.
you can take this one. Here, you can take this one.
from more than one copy, so.
Oh, you're gonna make the copy of that, the past guy?
Yeah.
Okay, you can take this one, and I'll get another one when she makes copies. Okay? And do you also have, do you have any other,
I think green tea is here.
you have the letter from Diana and from Michael?
Council Trudis? Yes.
Okay, there's a letter there, you can take mine. And also, Michael Krantz?
Kraus.
Kraus.
You have that letter? Just so that you have everything. Because it's not fair to go into it, not, do you need something?
I don't have the letter from that guy yet, but
From-
I'd be interested in reading it.
Okay.
I'll give you
yep.
mine.
Give it,
I'll give you
okay.
mine.
Yeah, most definitely,
Yeah.
most definitely. Council, you have no problems with that, right? We're all trying to work together. There you go. There you go.
Thank you.
And attorney, do you have this one? Who's this one to? There's so many. Ooh.
Sam?
Okay, so, and also this, you can have these two too. That one and this one, okay? Then you have everything, right?
Prestigious table.
Sam, we'll have to get you one of those
All right,
grippers.
yeah, okay, yeah, all right, so you have that.
I got a pretty good reach.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
All right,
Deb's getting restless, we should probably
all
move
right,
on.
so, okay. Wow, we haven't had a meeting this long in a long time.
I know.
Okay, yep.
Yeah,
All right, so is there anyone here from, we're gonna backtrack a little bit. Anyone here from Green Tea? Hi, how are you?
were you downstairs in
downstairs?
109? Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, 107. Yeah, what? Yeah.
I sent somebody down there twice. They must have missed you.
Okay, so, everything looked in order to me.
I don't think we have a matter much less complicated than what was just before you. We're simply removing Kale and Tim from the family business at Green Tea. And we're replacing essentially Raymond Tim, who will be all of the offices of the corporation.
And I've been there all of the above. Yeah. And I've been there since the inception of the corporation.
Yeah. So everything looked in order to me.
Fantastic work, yes, no, everything was in order. Packet, reauthorization form, amended application, monetary transmittal forms, I can go on and
Yeah.
on, you know, but, yeah, everything looked fine, just fine, Madam Chairman.
All right, so we just need a motion to approve the change in manager and officers and all of the above.
I'll make the motion, we approve and change the manager.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you very much.
See, if you'd been here, up there, you wouldn't have.
Moving up there.
Actually, it's a learning
Yeah,
experience.
is that right?
They actually not charging me for that.
Okay, and then did anybody have an opportunity to read the
Good communications.
communications?
Solid communications.
Okay.
Yes.
And then we have a couple of police reports?
Yes, we had a couple. The officers had an incident with the PC, they had to put a person in protective custody. The report doesn't indicate that that person was actually in the brandy bar. He likely was, but, so draw your own conclusion from that. Okay, the next one is, I'm sorry. Five, okay. The next one is the green tea. The officers got called, there was an intoxicated female in there. The staff was made sure she didn't drive. She said she only had one drink in there, she'd been drinking someplace else, picked up a takeout. She was subsequently put in protective custody. The leader was that serious incident where we had a shooting down there. There are a couple points with respect to the business. Witness statements were inconsistent. There was a statement that somebody said there was an argument between the victim, the eventual victim, inside. The staff says no, that didn't happen. The tapes were not available. They were there, but there was some time lapse before they were able to be accessed, and now they don't exist. I don't think it was anything malicious on their part. So the evidence of there being an argument inside or not can't be established. Nonetheless, they were indeed in there, and when they left the business there was an incident where the party was shot 5 times, and he's going to survive, but a serious incident.
Yeah.
Were they drunk?
There's no indication that they were drunk. So it wasn't a question necessarily of over-serving that I know from these police reports.
And you don't think they were hiding anything?
I can't say that they were hiding anything because I spoke with Jim Irving very soon after the incident. He assured me these tapes would be preserved. There was a little bit of trouble getting somebody with some technical skills to retrieve them on their part. And then eventually I was informed by the detectives that those tapes have subsequently erased themselves. So that's what I believe to be the case. I can reach out to make sure Mr. Irving, my detectives, or the detectives that were assigned to that, to make sure that that's the final result. But that's what I believe is the final result.
Okay. What is your recommendation?
I think that we've had several incidents there. I think he's got some people that are coming in there that are maybe prone to some problems, because we've seen problems. I would take this as wait to be a very serious incident and leave it to the board. I think he can stand before us and tell him he's doing everything. He was just here.
And maybe we can reiterate to him the importance of making sure that the video system is functioning, and he should probably pay more attention to the clientele that he is serving.
I think he understands that. I think he's a person that's not ever gonna, he's the owner. He can afford to have somebody that's competent, may not be him. And that's not, because it's not me either. You know, we can't send the detectives in, everybody's got a different system with a different, we can't, understand and manipulate their systems necessarily. I think we should, keep an eye on this if we see another incident of violence coming out of this. I think there's been a couple very serious. And he can, if his custom is drinking, he should take responsibility.
So then we will detectives for the fire, with the insult to be called. Right, subject to be called. Okay, correct. Okay, thank you. And Bruno.
Well, Bruno's July's. The only question I have about Gerard's, the incident at Bruno's, is the report indicates that he was closed.
And then he let somebody else in. Yeah.
But the time stamp on the dispatch is that it was like 1 minute after 12. So does he close early?
Right,
There was nobody there, so he decided to clean up and lock the doors. It's not clear. But I would note that the officer's report does indicate that Mr. Coffey, again, misdirected or displaced his anger and frustration on the officers.
Yeah.
2 female officers.
So perhaps we should bring him in and let him know if he closes his doors, the doors are closed. You cannot reopen.
2 female officers.
Oh, yeah, no.
It was Kelly, Detective Aylward, and Officer Almonte. And it's not in front of you, but there was an incident for a fight there the other day that you'll have for the next meeting. And his attitude as somebody with respect to the police is something that it still puzzles me, how a license holder would not try to
more
preserve the relationship with the
Sure,
police
sure,
a little more.
Sure.
That's been apparent since day one
Yes.
with that
And I
manager
thought
down
that-
there in particular.
Yeah. Okay.
From the remarks that I've read in the police reports.
Right.
Madam Chairman,
What's
Clerk
your name?
Ginnivan was saying this individual is perhaps an ex-employee that may have anger management
Do
issues.
you remember that?
Well, understand, he's been brought back now, he was ousted.
Okay.
And they changed officers.
They brought him back in.
They brought him back. Yeah, but he's out.
Did we approve this? This guy's not the manager.
He's not the
He's
manager.
not the manager,
Well,
right?
let's see, exactly. You know,
I don't know.
No?
when the attorney got on those,
It was,
Yeah, it was an attorney. Yes, McDonald's and Conroy.
he
Or
brought, okay, and we're here for that. He brought Gerard back.
Mm-hmm.
The old owner, they got rid of Gerard.
Right.
And now the new
And
owner has Gerard
Gerard was
back.
involved in a couple of incidents with the older one.
Yes, yes. But he's back in good graces, running whatever his specific position is. I believe he's our manager. I don't, we'll have to check who's on record, who's on file.
He's not an honest mount
Well,
or manager of any kind.
He's the person reporting, and he's the person involved, and he's staffed there for the last several incidents. we've
So maybe we
And I
should bring
believe
in,
Didn't he threaten one of you guys at one time? Or, oh, I can do whatever I...
Yeah, I
think
think
he's
he gave you a
chasing
hard
after
time about a
Yeah.
year and a half ago.
It was
Like,
when they
like I
first-
can call my attorney, yeah, I know how this works, something like
Again,
that.
just something that I would imagine somebody who represents the business would want to have a positive relationship with the officers.
Right.
Certainly not an obstructive or
so maybe we should bring in the manager, the owner, and this gentleman and find out who is in charge.
Do you want a hearing or a conference?
Let's make it a conference.
You'll have the
Yeah.
other report next
Yeah.
month.
Let's make it a conference, okay?
Well,
Do you want me to pull those
Because we
old,
need to find out
Do
what's
you want me
going
to pull
on.
those old police reports?
Yeah, so that we'll have them, okay?
I think that's everything,
All right.
Madam
And,
Chairman.
any new business? Old business? Then, as always, adjournment is adjourned. I need a motion. It's adjourned.
It's adjournment.
Thank you.
Thank you.